When it comes to working as a wedding photographer, you will often be working alongside a cinematographer as well. So stick with us in this episode of Photography 180 and let's cover a few of the wedding etiquette items as it relates to this relationship that will ensure a smooth day for both sides. Welcome back to the series, everyone. This week's episode comes from my buddy David out in Florida. Thank you, David. And this is all about etiquette between a wedding photographer and a wedding cinematographer. There's a few key things, high points here. And then of course, we may not be able to cover everything that's involved with this topic in under just a few minutes. But of course, you can leave comments down below if you have a story to tell or a lesson that can be learned. But just keep in mind, this is a supportive environment. We're all here to grow and learn together. So let's get into it. Number one, above all else, when it comes to wedding etiquette, especially between a photographer and a cinematographer, is just communication. You know, this can all start well before the wedding, just reaching out, whether it's social media or by email, to each other. Let them know you're excited to work with him or her coming up for so-and-so's wedding. Perhaps sharing the timeline, especially as a photographer, because we tend to kind of drive the show when it comes to the timeline. So just being open with the cinematographer, sharing that timeline with him or her, just so they have some general expectations of how the day is supposed to go. And then from there, you can always share with each other, you know, some of the key shots or key ideas that you may have, just so that everyone can kind of plan and be on the same page. Also, with regards to, you know, positioning for key moments, whether it's a first look or the ceremony entrances or the reception entrances, the first kiss, cutting the cake, all those types of things that really can't be done a second time. It's good to kind of know what each side's game plan is going to be. This way you can avoid, you know, kind of interfering with the shot, getting in the way, being visible, just all those sorts of things there. Easily to iron out ahead of time with just a little bit of communication. And that's gonna go a long way to both your end product, their end product, and of course the overall satisfaction of your bride and groom. Kind of second thing I want to talk about is just respecting each other's space, and this kind of something I already touched upon here, but just being aware of your movements and where especially cinematographers might have multiple camera angles set up. So just knowing where those are before you start moving around is going to be beneficial. Of course, you never want to just block someone's angle, and that's a key moment that they can't get back. And at the same time, on the cinematographer's side, just knowing where a photographer might be, because generally we might only have our angle and our second photographer's angle, so we really don't have that extra leeway of a safety shot somewhere else. So it's just very important to know in those moments before you make movements where your counterparts are so that you don't interrupt a shot. More often than not, when this becomes an issue, it's generally due to just a lack of experience. So a lot of times if we are working with someone and we can tell they're very fresh, and they don't have a lot of weddings under their belt, it's more so important in those moments to really be upfront and educate them and explain to them the importance of what's about to happen and the fact that they really cannot put themselves in a bad position that's going to ruin your shot and potentially affect their own. Just, you know, being kind and respectful and professional at the same time, but also realizing that, you know, you once were a rookie as well. And so it's only going to be beneficial to kind of be a part of that person's growth as well and do it in a positive way. The next thing we can talk about is just collaboration in general, syncing shots. There are a lot of moments throughout the wedding day that we are able to do a second or third time if needed. But as much as we can avoid that, the better, because it'll all put just more time in our pockets, which is going to be helpful throughout the course of a wedding day. Just being on sync with each other and you know, if there's moments where, this is especially true for cinematographers, where audio is just extremely crucial and important. As photographers, we should be very mindful of that and perhaps silence our cameras or just hold off on shooting as long as it's a moment that we may be able to replicate and do again, so that obviously we don't miss out on content. And also at the same time, if we're doing a moment like that, limiting the amount of pops of our flash if we're using off-camera flash, because as we know, that can create a disturbance to the video as well. So if it's a one-time moment, we just have to be a little bit courteous, but we also can't risk losing the shot. But if there's something that can be done twice, just letting each side kind of do their thing without any sort of interruption is just very important. It should go without saying, but respecting boundaries, just again, being professional. If there was, there's a good chance that a cinematographer and a photographer might have different artistic visions, different, creative ideas. You may or may not agree with them, or it's just not your style. Obviously openly critiquing someone in that moment is a huge no-no. If something is, on your mind, you really want to say it, make sure you do that just privately, not in front of guests or clients, and just handle all of that sort of behind the scenes, because it just leaves a really bad taste in everyone's mouth when there's an open discussion such as that in front of other people. And then, another thing is just being supportive of each other after the fact. So once the wedding's complete and now it's time to start sharing content on social media, being supportive of that, tagging the person you were working with, sharing that you may have had a great experience working with him or her, supporting them, commenting on the videos, sharing. Those are all little small ways that we can kind of support one another and continue to build strong relationships, because you never know where that next recommendation may come from. By supporting another artist, they may be more so likely to recommend you to the next client who's looking for a photographer or cinematographer. So keeping all those things in mind, we're in this for the long run, we're in this to support each other, we're in this for our clients. Stay professional, stay kind and courteous. Let's all help each other grow. I hope these tips have been helpful. Again, I know I can't list all of the ones that are important in just a few minutes, so comment down below if you have a story or a lesson or a suggestion for all of us to benefit from. And I look forward to seeing everyone next week on Photography 180.